Hello friends, continuing from earlier videos, let us take 10 more questions today to learn little more of our country's polity, that is the system of governance of India. And don't forget to engage in the parallel learning. Today it will be about the Indians who won some medals at the Paris Paralympics. So first seven slides are the seven gold medalists of this Paralympics of 2024, where India won a total of 29 medals. So let us take the first question. What do you understand by the term quorum in reference to a case in the Supreme Court of India? It's a straightforward question. Like, you need to know the meaning of the word quorum. And it says minimum number of judges to hold a session of the court. Now, that's not what it is. In fact, there is nothing like that. If certain judges are not there to complete the bench, then some other judges may be appointed or the case is deferred to another date. And then composition of the bench hearing the case. Actually, that is what the quorum is. So quorum refers to the exact composition, the specific names of the judges who are going to decide a particular case. So we have found the answer, but still, let's see standard of behavior expected of a person present in the court. That's basic etiquettes, maintenance of decorum, but that's not the quorum here. Case list of the day for the bench, basically the what is called cause list, the cases which they're going to look in the specific day by the specific bench. So that is also not quorum. Anyway, the correct answer here is B, composition of the bench. Moving on to the next question. It asks, the provision of the Disaster Management Act were used in the country to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Which of the following is correct in this regard? Now, it says the National Executive Committee is the chairperson is the Cabinet Secretary, and for the State Executive Committee, it is the Chief Secretary of the state. Now, see, the way it is designed, that at the apex level, we have got the NDMA, the National Disaster Management Authority. Similarly, at the parallel side, we have got the State Disaster Management Authority. So NDMA is headed by the Prime Minister, SDMA is headed by the Chief Minister. Now, these are the authorities to execute the implementation of all the decisions of the authority. There is an executive committee. That is what is mentioned here, National Executive Committee and also the State Executive Committee. So National Executive Committee actually is headed by the Union Home Secretary, and the State Executive Committee is headed by the Chief Secretary of that particular state. So these executive committees, they assist the respective authorities, that is NDMA and STMA, in handling the coordination, monitoring, etc. So the first statement is wrong because it says Cabinet Secretary, whereas actually it is the Home Secretary. And that should be a logical thing also, because at the national level, Home Secretary should be taking care of all the disaster management activities. And second statement is correct because it is saying State Executive Committee is headed by Chief Secretary. So very less number of the aspirants who attempted this question actually got this right. And we should be aware about these things. Moving on to the next question. The judge of a high court in India is required to make and subscribe an oath or affirmation before. I had thought it would be a comparatively better performance because this is a straightforward question. Who does the judge take an oath in presence of? And this is where we have Article 219 of the Constitution, where it says it has to be done in front of the governor. So correct answer is governor, not the Chief Justice of the High Court or of India, or of course the president. President confirms the appointment, but the oath is taken in the presence of the governor of the state. Okay. So the next question is about the Bharat Mala Pariyojana is executed by which of the following ministries? So this is a scheme which was started in the year 2017 for the development of the national highways. And the scheme has now been practically discontinued. No new projects are being awarded, and only the ongoing projects are being completed, which, according to the latest news reports, is likely to be completed by 2027-28 only. Originally, this was planned for 5 years, that by 2022 it will be completed. So it's going to be delayed, which is not unusual in our country for all infrastructure projects in general. And most likely there will be a phase two of this Pariyojana. But as of now, that's the status. And of course, it's National Highway, etc. So it's the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways who does this work. Then it says Bharat Electronics Limited is a public sector undertaking under which of the following ministries of the Government of India? Now, BEL is a Navratna company under the Ministry of Defense, and specifically the Department of Defense Production. So, under the Department of Defense Production, it is a key manufacturer of electronic products and systems for the Indian Army, Navy, and the Air Force. Over time, it has also diversified into various other areas too. For example, the electronic voting machines, EVMs, are also manufactured by BEL. EVMs, by the way, are also manufactured by the Electronics Corporation of India Limited, which is a public sector enterprise under the Department of Atomic Energy. So I usually pick and find these kind of bodies where it's not a very obvious guess, as you can see from the performance also. So ECIL is under Department of Atomic Energy, and BEL is under Ministry of Defense, because it was started with that idea. So correct answer is Ministry of Defense. Then in the next question, two statements have been given, and it is saying which of the following is correct about the President of India. Now, statement one says, upon completion of the term of their office, that is the president, they may seek re-election to the office of the president. That's correct, they can, but cannot seek election to any other office under the constitution. Now, there is no such prohibition either in the constitution or the laws. Yes, normally it is sufficiently logical to expect the person would not do this, that they will apply for a lower post. However, there is no prohibition in the law. So, second statement says election to the office of the president shall be held within a period of 2 months before the expiry of the term of the office of the outgoing president. Now, this is a correct statement. However, the constitution only states that the election shall be held before the end of the term. But how much before the end of the term is not explained in the constitution. That is defined by the Presidential and Vice Presidential Elections Act of 1952, which is an important law which regulates the election, as the name says, of president and the vice president. And it states that maximum 2 months prior to the end of the term of the incumbent. So you cannot start the process 3 months before. It has to be maximum 2 months. And election commission basically has got those 2 months to plan everything. So the second statement is the only correct statement among these two. Then the next question is, which of the following are correct with respect to the elections held for Parliament of India? Two statements are given. First one says, in the case of a biennial election to the Rajya Sabha, a person shall not be nominated as a candidate for election for filling more than 2 seats allotted to a state. And very similar thing it is saying, for by-elections to the House of the People from 2 or more parliamentary constituencies which are held simultaneously, a person shall not be nominated as a candidate from more than 2 such constituencies. So it is saying that in the Rajya Sabha election or in the by-election of Lok Sabha, whenever we are contesting election, conducting the election, any person should not be allowed more than 2 seats to contest. Now, this is a general rule. Understand, all the elections under section 33 of the Representation of People Act 1951. This section allows a candidate to file nomination from maximum 2 constituencies, from 2 seats in any election, be it Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha or Assembly or by-elections, whatever. So both are correct statements, and remember this as a rule. Maximum 2 constituencies in the same election is allowed. Then the next question, in the elections to which of the following nota, that is none of the above, is made available as a choice to the voters? Now let's understand the principle here first. See, nota is an option for the votes, the voters, and it emerges out of Article 19 of the Constitution, that is freedom of speech and expression. It is a matter of choice for the voter, who is free to choose any candidate. So they are free to also choose nobody from the list of candidates. Therefore, it is only a logical derivation that nota will be meaningful only for a voter who is having this freedom, who is voting for themselves by their own wisdom. That means only the directly elected houses where people at large are voting. So people at large, they get this choice and not the indirect elections. So it will not be available in the indirect elections where people's representatives vote on behalf of the people or on behalf of party, because there's no meaning of a free choice of the voter here. So amongst these, only Lok Sabha would be correct because that's the only direct election. So remember, president, vice president, Rajya Sabha, there is no concept of nota in these elections. And good, almost 80% got this right. So not that bad, but there's a lot of I thought principle that you should have that clarity. Then, what is the maximum number of nomination papers allowed to be presented by a candidate for election to the Lok Sabha from the same constituency? Now, it appears to me that a lot of the aspirants got confused between this question and what was asked in the earlier question regarding contesting from two seats. The same section 33 of Representation of People's Act 1951, which allows a candidate to contest from maximum two seats in the same election, it also allows the candidate to file four sets of nomination papers. And that's what this question is asking. How many nomination papers are allowed? And see, this is done basically to mitigate the chances that there may be errors in some of them. So please understand clearly the point. A candidate can contest from two seats maximum in the same election, say Lok Sabha election. And for each of these two seats, they can file maximum four nominations. Also, if they win both the seats, then they will also get 14 days period to choose one. Otherwise, both seats would get vacated. So anyway, the correct answer is 4. And that is Mr. Murlikant Petkar, India's first Paralympic medalist. A recent well acclaimed movie, The Chandu Champion, is his biopic. So if you have not seen, do see. It's a wonderfully made piece of art. Then the last question for this video, which of the following statements is or are correct? First statement says value of the votes of the electors for the office of the president is not the same. Now, that is correct. We know for some of them it is same. For example, the MLAs of the same state, they have the same value for their vote. Then similarly, all the members of parliament, whether from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, they also have same value for their vote. But as a general statement, the members, all of them, like all state MLAs and all MPs, they don't have equal value. So yes, that is a correct statement. Then second statement says value of the votes of all the electors for the office of the Vice President of India is the same. Now this is also correct. And that is because the electoral college consists only of the members of parliament, both elected as well as nominated. They are all equal. This election is also by the system of proportional representation system using the method of single transferable vote. But it is not based on the principle of electoral college representing people of India. So there is no value of the vote concept in that sense. All votes are equal, all these members, and that is why they all have a value of 1. Hence, both these statements are correct. And that is all for this video. You study well and keep the spirits high. Take care.